I just finished the book East of Eden like a week ago, and I really wanted to make a video. I always want to talk about like books I read, but I think it's easy to feel like I'm too stupid to do that, or like sometimes you want to like say like a bunch of times and you want to watch a video with somebody who says like 1,000 times. I think that it's easy to get scared or intimidated to talk about something you're into because you don't feel eloquent enough or something. That's how I feel sometimes. But anyway, I just want this to be a safe space for readers that aren't like hyper intellectual educated English majors or something, which I actually kind of wish I was. So yeah, like just a normal yap sesh with a normal girl, because you're probably a super normal person. And so yeah, that's what this is. And I want to talk about East of Eden. So because sometimes I finish a book and I want to come on YouTube and watch a video about somebody talking about the book, and then sometimes people are like really pretentious, or they go over the book without talking about spoilers, and I want to talk about the book. Like, this is a spoiler review. I also, guys, this year, I'm kind of out of, I'm not going to, I kind of refuse to review, to rate art. Like, I'm kind of done with the, like, what would you rate that movie? What would you rate this book or something? I just feel like rating is so stupid. So that's just, like, my rebellious nature. I'm not rating anything. Anywho, East of Eden, we know it's a classic. It is a beast of a novel. It is beautiful. If you are somebody who's just watching this because you just like to watch me talk, it's a book. It has a lot of philosophy in it. It has a lot of biblical allegories. Is that the right word? Allegory.
As a literary device or artistic form, an allegory is a narrative or visual representation in which a character, place, or event can be interpreted to represent a meaning with moral or political significance. Would you like to hear more?
I guess that fit. Peel behind the curtain, and there's just a lot of biblical truths in this book, which is really fun. And I like the characters. Obviously, Lee is my favorite character. And I'm actually kind of traumatized by Lee's story. That was actually, I think about it probably every day. It's one of those things I think about every day. And boy, does Steinbeck know how to cut into you. Like that last thing Lee said about his dad, how he was like, there was no other boy loved as much as he was, or something. And considering what happened to his mom, I can't even! That was crazy. That was the craziest story. For some reason, I think if I were to like direct a movie, every book I'm reading, there's like a movie going on in my head. And if I were to make this movie, if I'm making the movie in my head, I would start out the movie with that story of Lee's story. And then I'd probably cut from Lee, and then I'd probably cut to the scene where the boys are shooting rabbits. And then I'd start with their story there, and then cut back into Adam Trask's story. And Samuel's story. Samuel is an awesome character, obviously. It made me really sad when he died, and his whole story, and how amazing of a person he was. And I don't know, I guess I feel like I have nothing really significant to say about the book or a significant takeaway. I think if I had read this book earlier in life, I think it would have been like the most life-changing thing. I think as I've gotten older, you can like see the lows that people go to and how dark and scary people can be. And I actually do wish I read this a few years ago, because it was kind of my like thou mayest moment. It's like the biggest, it's just crazy. And I find like all good art almost points to this point a lot in movies and in books, is like the power of choice. And I just find that fascinating, that time and time again it feels like it's never our choice. And it's easier to feel like that. It's easier to give excuses to our life problems, and it's easier to use our victimhood as excuses. Let me light this candle. And okay, candlelight, come on. I think a lot of beautiful art comes down to the point of choice. And I think that is where the greatest stories lie. You know, like if you think of Luke Skywalker, it was kind of like, is this like my destiny? Is this gonna happen? Am I gonna go like Sith Lord? And then it happens in like the story of Superman, which is also because I've been watching so much Smallville, where it's constantly like Clark was given to the world to, why am I tying this back to Smallville? To like conquer it and overtake it with like his breed into the earth and overtake it with his own blood lineage, his own lineage of Kryptonians, and to have them serve him. And something so impactful from freaking Smallville, I hope somebody from Smallville watches this, is that his dad is constantly drilling into him that like, you have a choice here. That is not like your, just because that's what you were sent to do doesn't mean that's what you have to do. At the end of the day, it's always your choice. And there's just so much poetry, obviously, in that one little revelation. And I just think that's so cool. Like, this can have a million, billion, jillion iterations about the privilege and the honor and the weight of choosing. And I think that's so fascinating, and we get so much good out of that moral dilemma. So I think, yeah, if I had read this a few years ago, where it's easy, where I was a little bit more fatalistic in my life views, I think it kind of would have rocked my world a little bit more. And probably like when I was a teenager, because I think it's easy to feel like, I always go back to this, it's like so easy to feel like, oh, you know, if God wants that for me, or, you know, if it's meant to be, it'll be, if, you know, that's my path and that's my path. There's this so like blasé approach to life that a lot of people take on, like, if it's meant to be, it will be. And it's like, that's not always true. In some sense, yes, but in a lot of sense, no. Like, people forget how much control and how much control they have over their lives, and how much control and how much choice they have every single day and in their own character. And a lot of people annoy me because they're like, that's just how I am, which I get sometimes. I can be like that. I'll say that sometimes, but that's only if it's like not hurting other people. But to the point where you're like, oh yeah, remember I exploded the other day? Like, that's just me. It's just like, what? Like, you actually hurt my feelings, and you were actually being a tyrant that day, and you were being crazy, and like, you ruined everyone's day and everyone's vibe. And that's like nothing to you because that's like your behavior patterns, and you're just chill with that. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But people just throw so much power into the wind, throw so much of their power away. and into this thought of like fatalism, you know, like if it's meant to be, it'll be. If I'm meant to be that way, then I'll be that way. Like it'll happen in the right timing. And I think to all of that, yes, in some senses, but mostly how I see a lot of people use those ideas is kind of like, no, you're kind of just wasting your life away. And not that I'm judging anybody for like but I just like, I think I wish people had that revelation of how much choice we have on our own souls. Like Cal, he was really, really fighting it. I think that was probably like, obviously that was the most beautiful story, but hold on, I have to fix something. I think that obviously, because it was like the last story told, the story Caleb and Aaron was by far the most beautiful. And I feel like in the story, I mean, there's so much to say about all of these characters, but I think in the primary story of Adam, Trask, and his son Cal, we see that we kind of see two different ways, like, let's say you have choices A and B. And A is like, you kind of go with what's given to you. And I feel like that was Adam's story of like, not completely, but kind of like submitting to his own natures. Like, he kind of did end up being like his dad. Like, he kind of ended up having a favorite. He kind of ended up like projecting onto his children. Not nearly as bad as his father, who was really abusive, but was he abusive? No, I don't remember. I think he was. I don't remember. Anyway, he kind of ended up like having a favorite, not giving his love as much to Cal, and that resulted in Cal, you know, basically killing his brother, which is what Charles almost did. He almost killed Adam. And then we see Cal come to the end of this conversation that they had been having since they were naming Cal and Aaron, that he didn't have to be who his mother's nature was. He didn't have to submit to the nature of hatred and the nature of anger and fear and loathing and being the less appealing brother. Like, he didn't have to submit to those natures and fully embody them when, you know, and that's obviously what makes this such a good story, is because nothing is quite, I mean, the things are quite literal, but nothing is quite super literal. You know what I'm saying? And that just makes for, like, that's just what a great author is like, when it's there, but it's also kind of not there. Like, the exactness, you still have to kind of work to see symmetry. You still kind of have to work to see these things. I thought the description of Cal was the best thing ever, and it was the most spot on thing. Like, as somebody who's witnessed like teenage boys and like people growing up, like the story of how somebody can go from this little thing that wants to be wanted to being rejected to becoming this unhappy, morose, is that the right word? Hey Siri. Morose.
Melancholia or and pre-modern medicine.
I'm just gonna read the passage. And since he was pretending, his performance was not convincing. Where Aaron was received, Cal was rebuffed for doing anything or saying exactly the same thing. And as a few strokes on the nose will make a puppy head shy, so a few rebuffs will make a boy shy all over. But whereas a puppy will cringe away or roll on its back, groveling, a little boy may cover his shyness with nonchalance, with bravado, or with secrecy. And once a boy has suffered rejection, he will find rejection even where it does not exist, or worse, will draw it forth from people simply by expecting it. I just thought, like, whoa, that's so true and beautifully said, and just crazy that somebody could put something that you think or have seen or have witnessed in people and just put it in a text, also in the 50s. It's just so wild. This is why reading is so cool. I don't know, I think reading is so cool. What else did I have to say about this book? Kathy is a freaking freak. What the heck is wrong with, I mean, so much was wrong with her. I honestly think the worst thing she did, though, was, like, literally killing her parents. I mean, the whole Adam thing she had to do to survive, and then she was being pretty freaking straight up. Like, she was like, I'm having this child, and then I'm leaving. You're not going to see me again. She said that multiple times. And it's crazy how I think her character, I've seen a lot of people talk about East of Eden, and people are just like, that hoe was crazy, she was wild. And given, yes. But also, I found her so fascinating as a character. Like, the whole thing it's twisted. She's twisted. The whole thing that she was doing with, like, a brothel, that's what it's called. She had her brothel. Oh yeah. Well, she was twisted because of what she would do when she would drink, and then what she would do, and then she, like, killed that lady for power. So it was kind of crazy, like, the risks she was willing to take for power, but also she was always playing on people's perception of her. It was a big gotcha, like, oh, you think I'm this, like, delicate young flower that needs to be nurtured, or that needs to be taught, or that needs to be taken care of, or that needs to be loved. And she just used that and, like, twisted it into people's hearts. And the whole thing with, I was freaking pissed at the end when the photographs, this is what people don't talk about in, like, book reviews. When the photographs were, she said she was gonna, like, leak them when she died, and they just ended up not even getting leaked because the freaking chief of police was like, oh no, we're better off without this. There are some good men in these photos. You know, this will probably ruin our town. And what would you guys have done? Would you, if you read this book, like, if you were the chief of police, would you, because you would ruin your town. You would ruin everyone in your town. But it's also like, oh, well, you guys are kind of sick and twisted, so let's expose all of you crazy mofos. Let's light the city on fire, basically. Like, would you do that as a sheriff? And probably the sheriff was in there, I don't know. I just found it crazy. And what's also crazy, too, is that Caleb ended up being better off for his, because he was, it's, oh my gosh, it's like freaking, what's her name? Is it raining? What was her name? Abra? Like, when Abra was like, he was like, I'm not good, why do you want me? And she said, because you're not good, or something like that. I don't know. Because you're not good. And that ended up being to his own goodness. I mean, he's the one who ended up alive because he was, like, strong enough to take the news of his mother, where it just freaking killed Aaron. That news just, like, literally, he just fed himself to the slaughter because he was so good. But in that sense, he wasn't really, you know, to be good is to see the bad, to want to do the bad, and to choose to be good. And that's what Cal did. And Aaron was kind of just like out of sight, out of mind suppression of anything bad, that I'm inherently good, but that's not even true. That doesn't make you good just because that's all you feed yourself and that's all you accept in life is the goodness and good things and good thoughts and being a good person. Like, that's not how being a good person works. It works like Cal, like, you have this nature and you're asking God, like, please don't let me be mean. Please, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be bad. I don't like making people feel bad. And that's such a beautiful thing. It is so beautiful, and I have experienced that. Like, I definitely have wanted to be mean before. And I'm like, please, like, why am I so mean? Like, gosh, I just want to be nice. And I think that's like a pure desire, and that's a good thing. That's a good desire, to be kinder, to be nice, and to want to be inherently nice and want to be better. And to be afraid of being bad is a good thing, you know. To be afraid of the evil that we can carry is kind of a good thing, because if you're not afraid of the evil you have, then you end up like freaking Kathy, just killing people to do whatever you want and taking advantage of people. But her character was fascinating because Adam didn't need to go and marry her. I mean, I don't remember if she encouraged him to like get married, but I think he was like, we're gonna get married, and she's like, yeah. But also, she doesn't know, she's in a house with two strange men. Like, she doesn't know what's going on. Oh, also freaking Charles is the father? Whoa, that was crazy. I didn't even think about that, which I felt kind of stupid. I was like, oh, why didn't I see that? She literally slept with him. And God knows if she even, I don't even know if she slept, I assume she slept with Adam? I don't even know. But, she always, like, got the leg up. No pun intended. No, I'm just kidding. And so, you know, it was such a play on good and, I mean, obviously it's like the best play on good and evil, but like, Adam wasn't good for like just taking this girl in and being like, you're my wife and you're my obsession, you're my pet, I love you, I'm gonna take care of you, when she wasn't asking for that. Like, she was just there and wounded, and like, obviously not in her, you can't expect any commitment from somebody like that. And then like, that wasn't a good thing, that Adam wasn't being a good person at that moment and being like, we're gonna move and I'm gonna make you this, and like, you're gonna stay, and you're gonna, once this pregnancy's over, you're gonna love the kids, you're gonna feel so much better, you're gonna build this house, you're gonna be amazing. And that's not even a good thing. But then he ends up being this really good person. We see him become this really just person. And I love how he treats Lee. And I love Lee's dynamic with Sam and Adam. It's so cool and so funny. Like, they're just like an old little married couple by the end of the book, basically. Like, he's just taking care of him. And he's just like, he like decorates the house and he does all things. And Lee wants, I think Lee's story was so interesting. Like, he got lonely after a few days, like wanting to do his bookstore, and he like found it more worth it to just help raise the boys and be with basically his family, because he didn't know his other family, right? Yeah, I thought the story, for me, the story of the Trask family really sucked me in. I loved the story of Sam Hamilton. I thought he was such a beautiful character. I mean, probably one of the most beautiful characters I've ever read, honestly. And, I mean, I should have probably gathered some quotes for this. Let's just see if there's anything I underline. Let's just see if I underlined anything about Sam. Okay, this is a fascinating passage. So they're talking about Cain and Abel. Remember, Mr. Hamilton, I told you I was trying to translate some old Chinese poetry into English? No, don't worry. I won't read it. Doing it, I found some of the old things as fresh and clear as this morning, and I wondered why, and of course people are interested only in themselves. If a story is not about the hearer, he will not listen, and I here make a rule. A great and lasting story is about everyone, or it will not last. The strange and foreign is not interesting, only the deeply personal and familiar. Samuel said, apply that to the Cain and Abel story. And Adam said, I didn't kill my brother. Suddenly he stopped and his mind went reeling back in time. Flashback. And then I think to an extent he probably feels like guilty of how much his dad loved him. Adam. Anyway, I think I can, Lee answered Samuel. I think this is the best known story in the world because it's everybody's story. I think it's a symbol story of the human soul. I'm feeling my way now. Don't jump on me if I'm not clear. The greatest terror a child can have is that he's not loved, and rejection is the hell he fears. I think everyone in the world, to a large or small extent, has felt rejection. And with rejection comes anger, and with anger, some kind of crime and revenge for the rejection. And with the crime, guilt, and there is a story of mankind. And that if rejection could be amputated, the human would not be what he is. Maybe there would be fewer crazy people. I am sure in myself there would be many jails. It is all there, the start, the beginning. One child refused the love he craves, kicks the cat and hides his secret guilt, and another steals so that money will make him loved, and a third conquers the world, and always the guilt and revenge and more guilt. The human is the only guilty animal. Now wait. Therefore, I think this old and terrible story is important because it is a chart of the soul, the secret, rejected, guilty soul. Mr. Trask, you said you did not kill your brother, and then you remembered something. I don't want to know what it was, but was it very far apart from Cain and Abel? And what do you think of my oriental pattern, Mr. Hamilton? You know I am no more oriental than you are. Samuel had leaned his elbows on the table and his hands covered his eyes and his forehead. I want to think, he said. Damn you, I want to think. I want to take this off alone where I can pick it apart and see. Maybe you've tumbled a world over me, and I don't know what I can build in my world's place. Lee said softly, couldn't a world be built around accepted truth? Couldn't some pains and insanities be rooted out if the causes were known? I don't know, damn you. You disturbed my pretty universe. You've taken a contentious game and made an answer of it. Let me alone. Let me think. Adam, come out now. You've been long enough in whatever memory it was. Adam said, isn't it too simple? He asked. I'm always afraid of simple things. It isn't simple at all. It's desperately complicated, but at the end there's light. There's not going to be light long, Samuel said. Anyway, I don't even know why I just read that. That had nothing to do with what I was thinking. I could just read this whole book over again. And yeah, I think those were my biggest takeaways. And I've already gone on for literally almost 40 minutes. So, yeah, if you just finished East of Eden, I mean, how beautiful was that ending? What I've noticed about some books that I've been reading is I don't remember the, end chapter as much as I remember the meat of the book. And as I've been reading, more, I guess I've been reading, classical literature. For example, the brothers Karamazov. I find myself remembering everything in the middle of that book and nearly nothing towards the end. They kind of just dwindle away into no set ending. I don't know if that's a pattern in in classical literature. I don't know. But I just find myself the endings are just not as impactful as the insides of the books. And I've been reading through classics, so that's why I say that. And yeah, I just think that's interesting. So if anybody knows about why that is. But this did have a very impactful ending, obviously. That was just so beautiful. And Lee was obviously such a powerful character in his mediation of being give him the blessing, let him live free. Because, if Adam didn't give his son his blessing, it's okay, go choose to be good, go and be, I forgive you, Kale, why do I keep saying Kale? Cal would have had no choice really but to probably he was gonna kill himself if his dad was upset with him at his death, because he would have felt guilty for his death and his brother's death, and he'd be pissed. Something I heard another person, these literary these I don't know, some smarticle people on YouTube talk about books, and something somebody said was that as Cain and Abel, Charles and Adam, and the acronyms of it all, Caleb and Aaron were all counterparts. Somebody said that Abra and Kathy were also counterparts. And I thought that was very interesting because, yeah, because Kathy was born inherently bad. Like, she was twisted since birth, and Abra was born a lady, you know, like, she was born kind and really good, even in the sense that she wasn't perfect, you know. She wasn't born inherently good like Aaron was. She was born just inherently good as human, not an angel. Like, Aaron was this, like, angelic being, and Abra was this human, a good human. And I thought that was really beautiful. And somebody else said the drama with Abra's the drama with Abra's dad was that, like, maybe he was in the brothel and he felt like he was gonna get exposed, so he, like, was getting all sick and about to die. And also, something else that I found really, really funny, I want to read this book again for sure. I didn't really understand when it was hard for me to follow with Sam Hamilton's sons, mainly because they were all named, like, Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I was just like, wait, who? Like an owl. And I, like, could not follow along on who was who. And it was really sad, like, the story of Desi dying, like, that was just really sad. And I thought the story of Olive Hamilton, I think that's the one who married a Steinbeck, and then this was the author's, her son, or point of view. Anyway, that story of her getting on the airplane because she thinks she's about to die was, like, so funny and so random, but it was kind of a breath of fresh air. And I wish there was a whole story on only Sam Hamilton. And I don't know, I'm excited to reread this again and to, like, live with this book, because, you know, our books don't end, like, when we read them. They never end. They literally never end. We literally always have these books to come back to. Yeah, I don't know what the sliding is, but we literally always have these books to come back to. And we get to live with them now and live with these stories. And I just find that really cool. I have nothing interesting to say about that. Part of me wants to, like... Okay, wait, this sliding is crazy. Part of me wants to, like, have a little spreadsheet and, like, write my biggest takeaways and things I've learned and blah, 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 blah. But something about me just can't. I just can't. Like, I just want to talk about the book off the top of my head. And I just love reading. And I literally have nothing else to say, like, eloquently. And I hate when people try to be eloquent on everywhere, like, all the time. It's just so stupid. Anyway, I watched all those videos, so I don't know. Hopefully somebody enjoyed this, like, rant. Maybe you just read East of Eden. And yes, I would say this would have been such a good precursor to read. I wish I read this. Actually, no. I was going to say I wish I read this before Brothers Karamazov. Am I saying that? I always don't know. Karamazov? But I don't know. But this is definitely, if you want to read Brothers Karamazov, just read this one. I took a big break in between that book and this book because I knew this was, like, heavy about brothers. And I was like, brother, wait. I need to read something in the middle. I read, like, half of Count of Monte Cristo in between. What else did I read? I don't know. Anyways, I'm really fascinated by this little author, John Steinbeck, I just learned about. And definitely get into this book. It is generally easy to read, like, compared to, like, Dostoevsky or something. Like, it is, if you're, like, a new reader. It is 600 pages. But it is a strong enough narrative, I think, to kind of last you a few months. Like, this, like, because sometimes you can go out of it, like, to compare to Brothers Karamazov, again, that took me a long time to read, but it was also kind of difficult for me because the points of the story were kind of hard to latch onto and remember what you had read like before if you had taken some time in between. And this was pretty good. Like, I would read this during work. I read it over a series of months. I didn't want to take that long reading it. But hey, we're humans here. We're real people here on this channel. And we're real book readers. We're not, like, I can't stand when people are just reading literally 60 books in a year. I'm like, or 100 books, or 10 books a month. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And if you listen to the audiobook, that doesn't count as reading a book. You heard a book. You did not read that book. Like, what? So maybe they're just listening to listening to books, and I'm like, babes, that's not reading a book. This is reading a book. Like, what? Anyway, I don't get people that can read so many books. I mean, if that's all you do, I get a lot of books, but like 60 to 100, like that is just too much. You're not retaining any of that information, I'm sure. Like, do you actually care about what you're, like, what? Freaks me out. Anyway, no hate to them though. I'm just jealous, obviously. But, yeah, read this book. If you haven't read this book, well, I'm assuming you have read this book because that's the reason I made this video, because I had a lot of spoilers in it. So I hope you have read it because I just said a lot of spoilers. Anywho, read. I want everybody to read. Recommend this book to somebody. Just do it. I am reading Wuthering Heights right now, so that's awesome. I've been reading it every night before I go to sleep, and I've been dreaming about it every night, which is kind of wild. What happened last night? I don't remember, but I just know I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just very, like, I don't know. Something about it is just, like, making its way into my psyche. I don't know. It's kind of fascinating how that works. Okay, this is really long.